now we're going to take our next speaker. Before I bring in Dr. Nurul, I'm going to read our biography. All right, so it is an absolute pleasure and an honor to have Dr. Nurul Hawa Ahmad with us here on for this 2025 World Food Day Symposium. Dr. Ahmad is a food microbiologist and a food safety researcher at University Putra, Malaysia. She specializes in predictive modeling and microbiological risk assessment. She earned a PhD in food science from Michigan State University, where she contributed to USDA-funded projects on improving process validation for low moisture foods. Dr. Hawa Ahmad is a recipient of the ORISE postdoctoral fellowship at USDA ARS. She has published extensively and presented globally. Dr. Nurul Ahmad also serves on the microbiology spectrum as a reviewer board member. And most importantly, she mentors postgraduate researchers. And that is what we're talking about here today, in giving back, in training the trainer and also giving back to the next generation. Dr. Ahmad, is absolute honor to have you here today. Thank you for honoring our invitation. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me share slide. I hope you guys can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, good morning and good afternoon, depending wherever you are. Thank you so much for inviting me for the World Food Day 2025. It's such an honor. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. So I'll specifically will deliver a talk on predictive modeling. Pretty much all my work that I did during my postdoctoral training at USDA in Winmore location. So what is predictive modeling really? So back in 1920s, food microbiologists use simple calculation to determine the death time in canning industry. So if you know the magic number 121 degrees Celsius, that is typically used for killing Clostridium botulinum seaboard spores. So through the advancement of sciences and also demand from the industry and also food in term of food safety perspective, then now we encounter more terms about predictive modeling. What it is actually, it can be divided into 3 avenues. The first one is actually inactivation and survival kinetics. So you want to see how the pathogen being killed by any killing step that you apply to, or survival kinetic during storage. Second one is the growth kinetics, and then third one is the growth and no growth boundary. So I'll go to the first one, which is the inactivation and survival kinetic. What we actually interested is actually finding the D and Z value. So I have the terminology, the definition here. So maybe you have encountered this. Maybe this is the first time you heard it. So D value is actually decimal reduction time needed to reduce 90% of the bacterial population at a specific temperature. And then the Z value is the temperature needed to reduce the D by a factor of 10. So we wanted the D and Z values. Simply put, the higher the D value, we can say that the pathogen, foodborne pathogen, is more thermal resistance. So this is applicable for heat treatment, but if you have any other non-thermal treatment or any other type of pathogen killing step, maybe it's slightly different in that sense. So for inactivation and survival kinetic, they actually have different kind of inactivation curves. So the curve will determine what kind of model that you're going to use. For example, if the inactivation trend is linear, you cannot use non-linear model and vice versa. So there's a many type of inactivation curve, and you have to make sure you use the right model for it. So for in second one, the growth kinetics. So this is actually the typical microbial growth curve. I'm sure it's a revision for some of you. So what we're interested in growth kinetic is that we want to impede the growth of the pathogen or even spoilage. So by having multiple hurdles, so that it will not grow, be it temperature, be it acid condition, and so on. So what we're interested in here is actually to find the growth rate for this pathogen when it's exposed to a certain condition. So the goal is in food safety, especially to delay the lag phase so that the food can thrive as long as possible. So when the hurdle are compromised, we can expect that the bacteria will starting to grow and then the growth rate will increase and increase. So this, we don't want it to happen for bad, for in terms of food safety for bad microbes, the pathogen. But if you are looking into probiotics, then of course you want them to grow. So eventually, when we have a set of temperature, what we want to determine from growth kinetic is that we want to determine what is the minimum temperature of growth and what is the maximum temperature of growth, because beyond that temperature range, you can expect that the bacteria will not survive, the pathogen will not survive. For example, if it's below refrigerated temperature, for example, of course, the microbe will not grow, and then above T maximum, higher side, higher temperature, then the microbe maybe will be inactivated. Okay, the third avenue is growth and no growth boundary. What it is that when you want to prolong a shelf life of a certain food product, for example, cured meat, ground meat, right? So you will put a mixture of chemicals, to impede the growth, to extend the shelf life. So if you have a new formulation, you can just have all that and then add it to the food, and then you want to see the growth probability of the pathogen of interest. So we can say that if the probability is low, then meaning that the formulation works, and if the probability is high, meaning that that condition cannot impede the growth of the pathogen. So now I want to bring you to my first study during my postdoc, which is related to Bacillus cereus in liquid egg yolk. And in this particular study, we using an enzyme called phospholipase A2. Why this enzyme is crucial? Because in making liquid egg yolk, this enzyme will, the main role is as emulsifying agent to make sure that the liquid egg yolk is thermally stable and it will not separate. So in industry, especially in the US, FSIS, the Food Safety and Inspection Service, are very concerned because the way they conduct this enzymatic treatment varies. For example, they can hold for 50 degrees Celsius for 4 hours, 20 degrees Celsius for 15 hours, or 4 degrees Celsius for 70 hours. So with this kind of practices, they're concerned whether Bacillus cereus can grow or not. So in this particular study, we are interested first the Bacillus cytotoxicus, which is the thermophilic one among Bacillus cereus, and another one is Bacillus cereus cocktail mesophilic. So we don't want Bacillus to grow because when it grows, it will produce toxin. So for this study, there's a series of temperature profile, which is the dynamic profile. It's not a constant temperature to simulate the series of temperature that is being conducted in the industry. With this different kind of temperature profile, so you can see the line is actually the predicted data, and then the dots here is all our observed data from the experiment. So this is just illustrating the growth of this Bacillus cytotoxicus across this 6 temperature profile. So what we actually interested here is actually the T minimum and also the T maximum. So in here, what it says is that for the T minimum, Bacillus cereus can grow at 18.5 and also 52.4. So this is a T minimum and T maximum for Bacillus cytotoxicus. So although there's a bunch of number here, I don't want to confuse you, but we are interested only for the T minimum and then the T maximum. So what we did after the dynamic temperature profile, we confirm it with isothermal treatment, and then we confirm that at 15 degrees Celsius, there's no growth, it start to die off because the T minimum is 18. So we want just to shoot it a bit lower to see whether it's really 18 to validate that temperature, and we conduct the study at 15, and yes, there's no growth. And then above 52 degrees Celsius, 53, that's actually initially there's growth, but it start to die off. And then at 55 degrees Celsius, we confirm that it inactivated. So with this data, what exactly happened is that Dr. Lihan Huang, which is the developer of IPMP at USDA, he included this data in this software so that it can be used for those who are really want to assess whether their practices in making liquid egg yolk is safe or not. Similarly, we did the same study, but this time is Mesophilic Bacillus cereus cocktails. So in this case, we confirmed that at 9 degrees Celsius it's start to decline, and at 50 degrees Celsius start to decline. This is relevant because mesophilic, so the T minimum and T maximum is slightly different than Bacillus cytotoxicus, which is thermophilic. So in summary, this is how it looked like, the temperature profile. So for the Bacillus cereus, T minimum is 18.6, T maximum is 52.4. For Mesophilic Bacillus cereus, the T minimum is 9.3 degrees Celsius and the T maximum is 48.4. So what does it mean? What it is that we can suggest to the industry that, hey, you can just increase your process just a little bit higher than 50 degrees Celsius, because we found that even at 52 degrees Celsius, Bacillus cytotoxicus can grow, meaning toxin can be produced. So if we propose this small intervention without causing a lot of cost, a lot of major improvement, renovation to the industry, I'm sure they would be more happy to receive this as opposed to other kind of intervention. So this is regarding the Bacillus cereus in liquid egg yolk. So we published this work. If you're interested, you can look into it. So now I'm going to move to the second project, which is related to Clostridium perfringens in cured meat. This is pertaining to the growth and no growth probability. So in the US, they have a very stringent regulation where the processor cannot achieve higher than 1 log CP growth, Clostridium perfringens, after post-processing cooling. So these are the cooling profile that is recommended by the USDA FSIS. So the first stage is from 54.4 degrees Celsius to 26.7 degrees Celsius, and then the second stage is from 26.7 to refrigerated temperature, and that has to be done within this allocated time. Has to be less than 5 hours and has to be less than 10 hours to avoid Clostridium perfringens to grow. Because in food safety, Clostridium perfringens is considered as one of the fastest growth foodborne pathogen. And then the optimum temperature is 46 degrees Celsius, which actually in between in the first stage. So if it's not done correctly, Clostridium perfringens actually happily grow. So in US, according to USDA FSIS, they still allow the use of sodium nitrate, minimum 100 ppm, sodium ascorbate, which is equivalent to actually vitamin C, 250 ppm. So what we did, actually, we use the mixture of 4 different chemicals: sodium chloride, nitrate, and STPP, and sodium erythrobate, with the maximum level that is tally with the regulation USDA FSIS. We mix the chemicals and we want to develop the model first using solidified media. So we don't use broth because from previous study, we realized that in broth, the chemicals is more effective, but in the solid media is less effective. So we use solid media because it's mimic the food itself, solid, cured meat. So we use this one using 96 well microplate, and then we vacuum seal to create the anaerobic conditions, and then we expose it to this temperature profile. So the first one is 4 degrees Celsius for 24 hours to simulate cooling, and then we heat it to 80 degrees Celsius in 1.75 hours because we want to activate the spore, and then we quickly cool it to 46 because we want to stimulate, mimic the worst case scenario. So this is how it looks like. If that's all growth, it will turn black. If it's some growth, that's how it looks like. And if no growth, is clean like that. So so we obtain 2000-ish data points, and after all the defects, then this is what we obtain. We label as 1 when there is growth, meaning there's a black colony, and 0 if there's no colony. So we actually very stringent, where if I look even a small dot of black colonies, we consider that as growth. So this is the interaction for the logistic regression. So in here we found that STPP, nitrite, and sodium erythrobate, sodium chloride, and sodium aspartate has interaction. For solid media, Clostridium perfringens in solid media, so we found that sodium erythrobate actually promote the Clostridium perfringens growth in solid media. Similarly for nitrate as well. But as the salt concentration, sodium chloride, increase, we can see that sodium nitrate actually decrease the growth probability due to the mixture of other chemicals. This is just showing you the growth probability for each chemical. So I'm just gonna skip through this one. And eventually what we found that we developed the critical control surface for the solid media. Okay, and then we select several conditions just to validate it in the we have 5 gram ground beef, and then we add the chemicals, and then we expose this ground beef to the same temperature as we did as the solid media. And then what we found that these are the concentration we selected. We fixed the nitrate 150 ppm, but we changed the level of sodium chloride varies, 4 level, and sodium erythrobate as well. So in summary, we found that with that chemical mixture, the growth of Clostridium perfringens is suppressed in 96.3% of inoculated cured beef. And then at least 64% sample exhibited 1 log reduction, and then 10.6% showed higher than 2 log reduction. So another point of view is that the regulatory limits for phosphate, the regulation allowed for 5,000 ppm or 0.5%. In this study, STPP is proven that it most effective control factor in controlling Clostridium perfringens growth in cured meat. So we also published this study and actually published this study, and we also did the similar study, but this time we used Clostridium botulinum, non-toxigenic one, and also Clostridium sporigine as the surrogate. We did similar study in cured meat, and we also published the result in case if you want to know more about this. So in my final say is that I want to touch upon microbial risk assessment. Using predictive modeling is actually we can have a more robust microbial risk assessment, because in reality, when we deal with actually delivery, transportation, even the processing, how we make it, there's always many factors came into it. How fast it grows. If we place some intervention, then what is the inactivation, the D and Z value, and so forth. So if we have this data, we can incorporate that in quantitative microbial risk assessment and make it more accurate. So moving forward, a way forward for predictive modeling is that if we rely on conventional plating method, is actually very timely, laborious. As maybe if you work with microbiology, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. So if we can develop rapid or sensitive pathogen detection or quantification that is sensitive enough to detect, for example, just the one that I just showed you, the changes of the media color can be detected, So it's good. So, but of course we have to have more work and effort directed towards it. It is also desirable to incorporate metagenomic data for more precise QMRA. For example, if we want to study like strain variability or even AMR and virulence factor. Last but not least, machine learning for data analysis. When we deal with big data, then having this tool is actually very useful for more precise, more, I guess, rapid and fast analysis of for this for MRA. So I want to take this opportunity to thanks my research mentor, Dr. Lihan Huang, which is my supervisor for my postdoctoral, Dr. Vijay Juneja, a renowned food microbiologist, also supporting me throughout the postdoctoral period, Dr. Handy Huang, who I share the lab with, my colleagues, Dr. Samir Oster, and all the lab technician there that supports me, and of course, Aura, I support the fellowship for funding my postdoctoral training. Okay, that's all I have. I'm open for question.
Thank you, Dr. Nurul. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the next presenter, and
Okay.
then I will bring you back in, and then we'll do a joint Q&A session for both of you.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much. Excellent presentation.